Emily. I'm the co-founder of Broken Thumbs Apps and the creator of Emily's Girl Talk. This is the first episode of EGT TV. I decided to do this as another way to connect with all of you, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's start with announcements. First is EGT Update 3.0. There's three big things in this new update: Truth or Dare minigame, Notes and Landscape, and 20 new stickers. Truth or Dare was really requested by you guys, and because of that, I really wanted to give it to you guys, so it is in this update. Second is Notes and Landscape. A lot of you guys had also requested this because it was easier to type in your journal, and I agreed. Finally, stickers. There are a bunch of new ways to collect them, sticker codes, and also, if you stick around for all this episode, at the end you will find a little surprise. Second is EDU, or Emily's Dress Up. This is a new game by us, and we're really excited by it. It's in the submission process, and it's also the app that I'm going to be talking about later in this episode to tell you guys how I designed it and how we went through that. Finally is Blush in EGT's blog. It's a new segment in our blog. It was a idea by one of our EGT fans. Really great. We're very excited about this as well. Blush is one of our segments that talks about embarrassing and funny stories that you guys send in, and I've already read a couple of them. They're really funny. I think you'll enjoy it. Because of the popularity of pet pictures on Emily's Girl Talks blog on Tuesdays, I decided I wanted to show you some of my pets. So we'll start with my bunny, Sophie, and here she is. Sophie is about 4 or 5 years old, likes going outside, she loves getting her ears scratched, and she also likes little yogurt treats. See, her ears perk up, so we're gonna... Next, I want to show you my dog, Arwen. And if any of you guys are Lord of the Rings fans, you might notice her name sounds familiar. But, Arwen! So this is my dog, Arwen. She is a Jack Russell. She is also the same age as my rabbit. Likes getting scratched right there, of course. You can see her. Sometimes she's in a bad mood, but a lot of the times she's very nice, especially to new people. And you can see she's kind of interested in what's going on. A little bit excited. Arwen. And finally, this is my cat, Ashby. Ashby's been with us for a very long time, and she's part of the family, one of the oldest members. And you can say she likes food a lot. She has a little bit of a belly, but she still enjoys life, and we love having her around. And that's Ashby. The next thing we're going to talk about on this episode is how to make an app. And on this episode we'll focus on the design aspect. I like to think of design as how something looks, and in our next episode we'll be discussing part 2, which is engineering, or how something works. So when you really break down design, I broke it down into 3 parts: idea, storyboard, and user interface. The first thing you have to do when you make up an app is think of what you would like to play, or your friends would like to play. We usually get together and say, okay, what do I like, or what do you think, what would I want to play or create? It has to be something that you enjoy, because you're going to be spending a lot of time on it. Number 2 is storyboard, and I broke it down into 3 main parts: the story or theme of your app, the features you'll include, and the general flow of your app. When I designed Emily's Dress Up, I wanted it to be the best dress-up game out there for young women. So the first thing I did when I set up the story or theme of the app was I actually got pieces of paper and pen, and I actually drew out what I thought the game would look like in terms of what it would have, the features it would have, and so on. So you can see it's very bare bones. It's just outlines, and this this is the actual papers I used when designing Emily's Dress Up. Aside from the general story of this is a dress-up game, was the features I wanted to include, and I knew I wanted to be able to give the users the opportunity to save as many models as they wanted and as many outfits as they wanted, and as a bonus I wanted them to be able to name their models and their outfits. So of course this is the first draft of my concept. The second draft is an actual PowerPoint. As you can, it's an easier to read, and this is where I actually write down what will go into the features that will go into the app. As you can tell, there's a lot of different slides here. The next thing you have to think of when you design an app is how you want it to flow. Do you want them to be able to create their model first or their outfit first? Do you want them to be able to look at all the items at once or scroll through them? Also just wanted to show you a quick graphical stages of our design for Emily's Dress Up. So this was the very first design of the model. As you can tell, it's paper and pencil, and it's just a basic outline, no color. This is a little bit more advanced. This is when we had an idea for the title screen. You can tell her features a little bit more detailed. Again, this is a little bit more refined and detailed than the one before. And then you have the final concept. So everything always starts out in the preliminary stage, and then it just gets more refined until you get your final result. So far in this episode we talked about step 1 of design, which is the idea. Step 2, the storyboard. And now we'll go on to step 3, the user interface. So user interface is how the user interacts with your app. It's not as simple as throwing an app together and hoping that everything turns out. You have to make sure that button placements make sense, the use of a scroll view, that little thing where you can use your finger to scroll back and forth, if that makes sense. Because if your app isn't clear to your user, it could be the best app graphical wise, but in terms of functionality it may not really hit your market. So that's a big area that we take probably half the time, just making sure that it's easy to navigate through. And especially with Emily's Dress Up, we took a lot of time in figuring out what buttons should be on which screen, like the title screen. We didn't want too many buttons there, and we wanted to make sure that the buttons made sense to the app. This has been an exciting first episode of EGT TV. We went through a lot of stuff, including what EGT TV is, the new blush segment in the EGT blog, how to make an app, the first part design, and I introduced you to a couple of my pets around the house. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I also wanted to say that if any of you are interested in being in one of the future episodes of EGT TV, please email me or go onto my Facebook page, and we'd love to hear from you. And the more the merrier. So, without further ado, we're going to do our little sticker code. Thanks for watching. This is a sticker code. It's cupcakes in all capital letters. Make sure you spell it exactly how you see it. And enjoy the rest of your day.